Hello and welcome to the Business and AI Forum. Today we have a day of programming focused on showcasing how business and business functions are being impacted by AI technology. Without a firm understanding of how governance, organizational capabilities, risk management, investments, and adoption efforts are being implemented in organizations, we cannot make full use of AI technologies as a competitive advantage. My name is Joaquin Milada, and I am the founder of the Swarm community, as well as the host of the AI Digest podcast. And Swarm is a community practice centered on working through ESG related problems with open source AI technologies. With us today is the lovely Amy Raygada. She is calling calling in from Germany, and today she's going to give us a lovely presentation on data governance decoded. She's a veteran of the field, from the trenches to the general, the high level strategy, and we're lucky to get a little bit of her knowledge. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you so much for the presentation and for the invite tonight. Well, tonight for me, actually. Sorry, it's 7, almost 8 p.m. here. But I'm really happy to be here and be able to share, some of my experiences, and maybe will help some others struggling with the same topics. First of all, well, I'm a senior data solutions and integration manager at a company named Beba. We do basically green tech, but today I'm going to talk about more general in e-commerce landscape, because I think it's something that is related to a lot of companies in different ways. So let's get going. First of all, I would like to engage the audience a little bit, and I would like to ask you to scan this code here and to answer the following question. Are you familiar with the concept of data governance? I always like to do these kind of things here because then I know how much I need to focus on certain topics. So if you are able to answer, that will be lovely, so I can actually understand how deep I need to go in the first part of the presentation. Cool.
I think we may get votes coming in asynchronously because some people may watch the recording now or later.
Okay.
So
Cool. Then I'm gonna go more general in the topic, not too deep. So let's go first with the benefits. I like to start first with the positive things, and what can actually you get from the data governance perspective. So when we talk about basically, data governance, we talk about scalability, decentralization, agility, simplicity, to have quality boost, and also collaboration in governance and flexibility. But what is all this, right? So basically, we want with a data platform to be able to have this data democratization and make sure that the people, no matter the knowledge on data, is able to access all the information in the company and be able to take decisions informed. So who should consider adopting data governance? We have large enterprises. That will be like the best case scenario because they have a bigger teams. They have a lot of data sources. Usually they are like very centralized with one big data team or several teams small, but they don't communicate between each other. A lot of silos, and also they have a lot of different type of data infrastructure. Also, it's good for medium-sized companies because there is one large data team, or there is, for example, no data governance or no ownership at all, and they are basically growing quite fast. And to avoid more complexity in the future, is good also to adopt this. For a small business and startups, my recommendation usually is to gather like the principles of data governance, like best practices, the data as a product principle, the ownership side of things. So as they grow, they can have already this ground set up in the business engaged in this. So it's much easier when you are scaling and making your company bigger to be able to continue with this. So what is basically data governance in simple words? Then depends on your organization, basically. So you set up your own way of working. Basically, in my organization was to implement this in order to enable data democratization, as I said, and basically to make these data-driven decisions by creating systems and adopting tools that will allow anyone in the company, regardless their technical background and knowledge, to access, use, and talk about the data they need with the most easiest way to do it. So basically that's in a simple word, without going to Dama book or data mesh or any of these topics, how I would define data governance. So actually it's super important to understand that data governance is not only about one pillar, but actually 5. So we need ownership, we need accessibility for everyone, we need also put security in place to have quality, and also to provide knowledge with data literacy. And it's all about technology, people, and process. And that's how you create data governance. And as I said, if you're in a small company, maybe you will start only with ownership and quality and security. But if you're a bigger one, then you would like to have everything, because there is a lot of things to be compliant with. So here is a small framework for data governance, a simple one. So the idea will be always to have an inventory of these data sources, identify this data owner, have this data governance committee or a steering committee. So then you can define the data access management, all the privacy and compliance, have a data literacy program, have data quality, and then do all these encryption and auditing for IT. Or for example, if you're banking, pharma, or more complex organization where you need to go with the law, then you would like to have this in place for sure. So let's talk about the use case. I used to work for a big company with e-commerce where they have different type of marketplaces. So they had basically like 5 silos. They had central services, which is where it was more, HR, marketing, communication teams, strategy, and my team, which was the data platform one. We have one for real estate, one for automotive, one for finance and insurance, and one general marketplaces. And basically, I would like, before I start again with the topic, just in a single word, how would you characterize your own experience with the data governance journey? Well, maybe it's a little bit delay, but let's move on to the problem. And basically, the problem that we had here, we started to think about data mesh because we were going through different challenges. That was our beginning with basically with data governance framework. So it was basically a mid-sized company with more than 1,000 employees, some teams working on premises, some working in AWS, some working in GCP, one big data team with 20 people. Then we had a big merger, and we brought more people with different technologies again, a lot of bad data quality. One person with all the knowledge was the architect, then he resigned. No one else knew how was the architecture built or how was implemented all the logic that he did before. The stakeholders will rarely collaborate with the data teams, and they were expecting to read their minds and get some products done. And then you will have a huge backlog of dashboards, pipeline reports, and there was no opportunity to address all these topics. So this was causing a lot of production issues, political fights for infrastructure, unhappy stakeholders, and of course, who to blame? The data team. So let's move to identify and reflect. So before going into this data mesh, we identify the following problems. We don't have enough people to work in data. We were having multi-cloud and also on-prem systems, lack of knowledge, no data governance or data privacy in place, messy project structures. We had no access roles, no data ownership, and a lot of political discussions because everyone thought they were doing it better than the other. And basically, we decided that we needed to do a migration to the on-premises system, to the cloud, enable data sharing across all the business units using Apache Iceberg, create domains in every business unit with dedicated domain teams so they can start implementing data products, implement data contracts to enforce the communication, the transparency between data producers and data consumers. And we needed to build up a good data platform that will provide the infrastructure and the best practices and all the cloud governance across the organizations. Basically, the expectations were to create collaborative teams, better data quality, implement a modern data stack in the company, and educate the people to use the data platform. And it sounded like a good plan, right? But sometimes could be a little bit complicated. So here is basically, probably you have seen this quote, like the journey is more important than the destination, and there is so much more in between. And we thought it will be quite straightforward. We had a plan, let's make it happen. But unfortunately, we had a lot of pitfalls on the road. So basically, so why data governance, right? Basically, is because we wanted data governance with data mesh. We wanted distributed and decentralized architecture because we had a huge monolith. We wanted to have data ownership. No one was really owning the data. So sometimes we will have a production issue for a sales dashboard that was super important. And it was because someone dropped the column on the back end, but no one knew who. No one knew this source really well. No team was owning really this thing. And it was kind of a 3, 4, 5 days investigation until we get to the root cause. And this was causing a lot of problems to the business. We wanted to have event-driven data as well because we wanted data in motion to be able to have real-time reporting. Also, we wanted self-service tooling for technical and non-technical users. And we also wanted to have all the best practices, the standards for everyone kind of using the same thing. Of course, there will be slightly modifications between business units, but basically with a base. And we wanted to have the data product thinking. So the people will think more like this is a product and we need to give maintenance. We need to, design it correctly instead of just, I want a dashboard. And that was basically the main idea. So how can we make this happen? Basically, we started with data contracts. So in this way, we will be able to have people subscribing to our data contracts, and the data consumer will be informed every time there was an issue. And every time you wanted to be part of a data set or a data product, you need to subscribe to this, like kind of subscribe and like, and then they will get notifications when something will be changed. So this will spark the conversation in between the data product manager and the data consumer so they can understand how this will impact their own product. Also, I created this data product development life cycle when the user was the center of this. So we were investigating what were the domain needs, and what is exactly the need, what is a product candidate. We do the validation, the implementation, do the testing and deploy. And basically the idea was to understand the value proposition of the data product and how this will be usable, and not like in the past, maybe we had a dashboard that was used only once for one person, or maybe used only once a year, or some data sets that were not used at all. So we wanted to avoid this, and when we create a data product, that it will bring real value to the company, and also to be able to have the best resources. So as Steve Jobs said, people with passion can change the world, and that's actually what we thought. Unfortunately, I'm going to skip the question now. Unfortunately for us, was not the case of being easy. After giving you some background about our time, we are going now to the nitty gritty. So basically, this presentation is not about a happy ending. It's not about rainbows and unicorns and cats. It's about the real struggle. Technical implementation processes were challenging to begin with. But when you look back, actually, the technical side was the easiest. And the hardest part was about the cultural change, the executive buy-in, and the adoption. So let me tell you a little bit about the challenges during our first use case. So basically, we have product managers that basically they needed to become data product managers as well, and they didn't want to collaborate and learn about data-driven decisions. Even though manage a project in data and in software engineering is quite similar, they really didn't want to have something else. And some of them, for example, didn't know what is a data engineer or what is a data analyst. So you have to go from the ground, explaining them how it works. So no, but mostly they didn't want to do this at the very beginning. So some escalations were made for this. Data ownership, I got, hey, no, thank you. That's a hat I don't want to wear anymore, because they were like, I already have my job. Why do I need to own something else and take care of something? We have issues with the data sharing because each vertical was saying, why shall we share my business unit data with others in the company? It makes no sense. Why you need it? For the data platform, we had a great data platform implemented by our architect, but they were always saying, my infrastructure is much better. I don't need it. We can manage it. Please go away. And then for data governance, we had a lot of processes and things done, and they were, no, actually, we do it better than you, and you are overcomplicated things, so please back off. For data products, I try to do, for example, trainings and workshops for data engineers and product managers. And for example, I remember once of the first workshops that I did, the people accepted, and then the day before I had to travel to this office. All of them canceled because they didn't want to have something like that. So the struggle was real to be able to convince the people to go, and be part of this organizational change. So what can you do to sell the idea? Basically, understand their concerns. So take steps that will help them. For example, last week in my current company, I was in a workshop and for digital transformation, and people from HR, marketing, finance, and strategy and portfolio management also were invited. And just by sitting with them during lunchtime, I understood, for example, that marketing wanted to do a lot of AI topics, but they didn't know that our data platform team will be able to enable them with this. So they were trying to hire an external company to do it for them. But then, I'm like, what are you trying to do? Look, we have this and this and that. We have, you can do things with a Snowflake out of the box. And, we can put your Google Analytics data here and there. And the people was actually very happy. And also, for example, speaking with the strategy guy, they actually do basically some graphs on Excel and then put it on a PowerPoint presentation. And I'm like, why don't you use Power BI? We can enable you, get the data there, and you can do something more visual and interactive. And they were, oh yeah, I didn't know that neither, but I need training. I don't know much about it, but they are willing to learn. And in the same meeting, I met another guy from portfolio management who was given the task to create a glossary for all the projects that he has. And I'm like, but we have a data catalog. And, it's like, he was super happy. He was, okay, so I don't have to do it from scratch. Can you show me, please? And this is the kind of conversations that you would like to basically spark. Also, measure and communicate progress is super important to choose the right use case that will bring value and impact. For example, we created an AI model that was basically crawling our data platform, checking which data was, for example, PII, and will encrypt it automatically. And also, for example, for cut cost, will be like with deletion policies and everything, we'll drop whatever was not needed anymore, projects that were not used anymore. and we were able to save 200,000 euros in 1 year. And we brought this to the CFO, and he was so happy that he was willing now to share financial data with us to be able to do more of these savings for the company. So that's how you start enabling people and making some allies during this journey. Also show the benefits that other stakeholders are enjoying. I had one team from monetization. They were really happy with what we did for them. We helped them with migrate their data to the cloud. And they had better metrics. We harmonized their metrics. Now they had one single source of truth, and they were able to have all the metrics and all the information in one place with good data quality. And then the guys from monetization from another vertical, from another silo, came to me like, hey, I want what they have. What can I do to have it? And I'm like, okay, let's connect with your data team and see how it works. So if you get one happy customer, they will advocate for you. And that's super, super important. Then you have lead by the example. So in everything that we owned, we will implement these best practices and how we were documenting data. So it will be like the example or demo for other teams, and they will see how we're doing it and how happy were the people, and they will adopt it as well. Of course, we gave the freedom to adopt it to their own needs because they were completely different businesses, but basically with this base that we created on top. Data literacy is super important. So I was doing quite a lot of event stormings as well to design data products, to design domains, gamifications for data catalog for business users that will give prizes and make them happier. And then to get the executive buy-in, basically illustrate the progress to the executives with example that closely align to company goals, like this one of cost cuts, for example. It's super important. And also with the COO, we were able to save, the time from one person doing a manual report of hiring metrics. And they were super happy because now they will have an automated report that they can see every month with the data coming directly for their HR system with all the graphics and all the metrics they needed for this. So to convert someone, go and take them by the hand. That's a lot of data literacy here. And I think that's super important because, as I said with these examples that I had last week, there is a lot of people who really wants to change, and they really would like to understand how data works, and they would like to have a more efficient work as well. And if you really teach them and you really guide them, they will be super happy and will appreciate this for you. But how do you reinforce this new behavior? I love to use this framework, the continuous reinforcement. On freeze, change, and refreeze. So basically, on freezing, we recognize the need for a change. We determine what needs to be changed. We really encourage people for replacing these old habits, and we have support for them and try to understand their doubts and concerns without judging. Then we plan all the changes, implement the changes, and help the people to understand these new concepts from their point of view, not from the technical perspective. Otherwise, they will get quite scared. And then we do the refreeze, which is stabilize these changes, integrate changes like a day-to-day basis, like the new normal, celebrate success, and then have developed these ways to sustain the change, like these prices with gamifications for the data catalog. I had a ranking, and people after 1 quarter will get, for example, merch from the vendor, or we'll get a pizza party with the team that will put the most terms in the glossary, and we'll do the most out of it. So it's quite important that you focus a lot on reinforcing this, because people will forget otherwise. So data governance is a everyday job where you have to continue to evangelize people and take them by the hand. So let's do a reality check here. I like to do this because I don't want you to get really disappointed about the process of data governance and data strategy, because it's a very slow process. And if you think how long it will take to have digital transformation in a company, it will be between 3 and 5 years. It's not something that you can make happen in 6 months, in 3 months, in 1 year, in year and a half. You really have to be patient. And when you feel frustrated, just continue with it, because you will get to somewhere. For example, for now, for us, for that company, when I left, it was maybe only 30% of the people after a year and a half onboarded. The road is quite rocky, so don't believe everything you read in Medium or in LinkedIn. Cultural change is hard. It takes time, so you expect a lot of resistance, but don't get discouraged. The majority of this digital transformation, it will take quite a lot. Stay resilient, keep going, continue to educate and preach. It's like converting people to a religion. Measure adoption. You can use metrics like new users of the data platform, amount of data owners per asset, data product usage, cloud consumption, all these kind of things, so you can measure the progress. And then seek leadership support. High management helps a lot to facilitate the process. We started bottom up, and then we understood we also needed some allies on the top. And this will give you the security that people must follow the practices, the best practices at some point. And this will make it much more easier. And also, one of the most important things is to foster this communication between all these data teams, and also bring business together, like marketing, strategy, etc., because they are people who they don't know what the data team do, and we can help them a lot. For example, in this journey of AI, ML, and a lot of things like, for example, predictive analytics, or our recommendation systems, or even chatbots. But if they don't know there is a capability in the company, or there's someone already doing that, they won't go and look for you. You have to look for your customers. Basically, data governance is like being a consultant inside your own company. And with that, thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Also, I'm available on LinkedIn. You can scan that QR code, you can add me there. And I also provide workshops and also consultancy for data governance and data mesh, and also to sell this idea to the executive levels. So thank you.
Thank you, Amy. I have a lot of respect and admiration for you. For one thing, you talk about this concept of data governance, and you champion the idea that this is a very long process. But what I appreciate most about you is that you have been a veteran of this from the ground. You've been a software engineer, you've been a data analyst, data engineer, you've been working at different levels of the organization, from individual contributor, team leader, to now influencing the executive team and building coalitions within organizations at multiple phases. So I really appreciate also that you provide this complex context as to this is a multi-step, multi-stakeholder, multi-year, all the multis that you want to add process. But as you illustrated, slow is fast. You want to be able to make a change with good grace and political nature, politically savvy, to ensure that you are getting steady buy-in and not just ripping away the structure or stability of an organization. The larger it is, the less likely and the less receptive they are to change. So you being able to kind of help them, guide them, teach them, reinforce this behavior is a Herculean task, to say the least.
Exactly. Yeah, it's quite hard, and that's why I like to tell the people, please don't get frustrated, because most of the I was in a conference this week, and I was seeing some statistics, from Gartner and some other companies, that they say that by 2030, the 70% of the initiative of data governance are gonna die. I think it's not that bad. I hate Garner, predictions usually, but this one I think is true, and it's not because it doesn't work. It is because people think that it's going to be easy, so they will drop it. You will be like, "Ah, no, this is not going to work." But you have to have a lot of patience and become persuasive. Just go there, talk to the people. For me, it's like being a psychologist. Listen to the needs of your business, make it business centric and no platform technology centric. Just go for the social technical part of things, and that's going to make you more successful in the long run.
One of the most compelling things that I hear you say is, and it's very insightful coming from you being a practitioner, um, that you start with utility, you find ways of saving money, and then once you save money and you save time and you give good grace of education and share knowledge, people begin to get closer to you and trust you. Some people, the immediate priority is let's buy a tool, let's buy a technology platform, let's start implementing things, and let's just burn cash. I don't know how it's going to work out, but at some point, I promise you, crossing my fingers, that I'm going to give you a return on your investment.
Exactly. And now I see it in my new company because they hired me to do pretty much the same that I've been doing. And that's why I was in this workshop, and I already just start talking to people. Just listen to their problems. So I have already set up for next week meetings with them because I want to hear everything, and then I can draft a plan and come to them. Look, this is what we can do for you right now, and this is how I can help you to resolve this problem that you just told me, and bring a solution, instead of pushing. Like if I go to them, look, we have, I don't know, a Snowflake or AWS or this and that, and they will be like, hey, I really don't understand. What do you mean by this technology? For them, it's just noise, right? It's always these techie people coming again with this, we don't care. But when you bring solutions, I mean, you can mention the technology, now you bring a solution, but bring the solution, draft it even with comics, with a real example. I don't know, you can even use, if you want, apples and bananas to exemplify stuff, but it's easier for them, and then they will find the value. And I think that's the most important. Learn this kind of communication.
And I appreciate you saying that this is a social technical opportunity. This is a social technical program management exercise. It's not just implement Databricks. It's not just implement whatever data catalog, whatever knowledge graph, whatever kind of hot, hyped terminology, technology that is coming out there. You say, here's what it is, here's how it impacts you, here's why it's important, here's the immediate impact that we can get from this, and here's the rollout plan. Then you start to get the buy-in and approval, and then you start to show quickly, sooner rather than later, here's the impact on the ROI.
Exactly. And you also need to understand, I mean, that's why I do these workshops of designing data products and also finding the right use cases, because you can have 10,000 of use cases, but you need to understand which ones are the ones that are going to bring your next allies, right? And you need this to continue to work. And as I said, once you get one of them, they will talk good about you, and then you will get more customers. It's, as I said, consultancy inside the company.
Amy, who should get in contact with you, and what benefits can you provide for them?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I give a lot of workshops for executive levels so they can understand, for example, AI usage and how they can benefit this, but also about data strategy. A lot of companies want to move to AI strategy before doing a data strategy. So I provide quite a lot of education on that, and also for teams that with engineers and data product managers, how to do domain discovery, data product discovery, and how to get the right use case. So just basically, CDOs, CTOs, and also engineering managers and heads of data are welcome to contact me. And if you're also in data governance or any other topics and just want to share your point of view, I'm always open on LinkedIn. I have a lot of roundtables that you can join on Data Mesh to learn more about these topics. They're free, and I mean, it's about education as well, as I said, data literacy.
Amy, it's always a pleasure to have you and listen to you talk. I always learn something. So with that, I unless you have any other piece of advice, I appreciate you taking the time to offer this presentation.
Oh, thank you so much, Joaquin, for the invite. I'm happy to share whatever I can with people so they don't go through the same pain I went.
Minimize the pain.
But yeah, exactly, a little bit at least. Or at least they know that it's going to take a long time now.
minimum
Thank
1.5 years to just get started, right? Minimum to kind of get the ball rolling. Well, thank you, Amy.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely day, everyone. Bye.